elevated step. And that's how it's broken into those four pillars of leadership, awareness, access, and action. And again, it's designed to be that professional mastery that can really help people who are already in the workforce and developing things and looking for how they make the next step or the next leap in their career.
Right. You interviewed over 2,000, 200, sorry, 200 listeners for this book. What recurring theme or insights from this conversation convinced that you the need to change the world and to construct a guide to success specifically with this book?
Well, in interviewing over 200 global thought leaders, and hopefully eventually maybe we'll get to 2,000. So that's a good goal. Thank you for planting that seed. When you listen to 200 different people talk about different things, you start seeing some themes appear. And again, the very first lesson or the very first pillar in the second book is that leadership. And it's not leadership as you think, like I'm going to lead others. It's really about that self-leadership, really understanding yourself. What are your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? Do that SWOT analysis. There are some self-evaluation tools. In the book, I list some of them that are free or low cost that can help you figure out what your strengths are. Then how do you build a plan? Where do you want to go? And start creating a plan for where you want to get 1, 3, 5, 10 years. Because self-leadership is that first journey to becoming a global leader. And that's what I learned from the global leaders I interviewed around the world. They didn't start out saying, I want to be a president of a country or I want to run a space agency. They started out by saying, I want to have a career. I want to make a difference. I want to have an impact. So your listeners today don't have to think, what's their global leadership going to look like? Today, just start with yourself. Do that self-leadership, and that will set you on the journey of becoming a global leader.
Right. The book encourages purpose-driven leadership. How does the space sector, the ultimate long-term goal, the survival and expansion of humanity, shift a leader approach to purpose differently than, say, CEO focus or primary profits?
Excellent question. We do live, especially in the United States, every week we hear about the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ, and we're hearing about company earnings and what were their results. And those are important metrics, but those are quarterly results, not necessarily the legacy that a CEO will leave for the future. And so some of the people I interviewed, like Simonetta de Bippo, the former United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs Director General, one of the things she created was the Women in Aerospace Europe program. And that, after 10 years, won an award at the International Astronautical Congress. So that was a legacy. She's no longer at UNUSA, we call it, the United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs, UNUSA. She's now moved on and she's a professor at a prestigious college in Italy, as well as at the New York University in Abu Dhabi. But she left that legacy of creating Women in Aerospace Europe, and it's still going today, and now it's winning awards. She left a legacy and an impact. And so a lot of the leaders I spoke to, yes, the day-to-day goals, the quarterly goals, those are important, but it's also where do you want to leave your legacy? How do you want to help the next generation? And so all the leaders I interviewed were really looking at what is that long-term strategy, like Simonetta de Bippo. There's many others. There's Alma, who is the director of the World Space Week, helping to create space opportunities around the world, especially in emerging nations. We just talked about, one of the things I'm hoping with the book series is that leaves a legacy for the future generations that could become a learning model as well. We get it written down, and that creates the genesis for the future. So what is the legacy people want to leave? Where do they want to go? How do they want to create that impact that will help the next generation?
It is very important, this great legacy, particularly for women. And talking about women, for example, in UNOSA, in the International Astronautical Congress, what do you say to these many women in the world in space sector to success in this incredible but difficult sector?
So there's never been a better time to be in the space industry. You know, we think about space as this really removed, distant thing that applies to other people, maybe the United States or China or Russia, but really space is part of every nation, every economic opportunity. It's in every economic sector. One of the places I love to talk about, and she's in the book, is Dr. Catherine Nakalibi from NASA Harvest. And she talks about how space technology and space data that's observing the earth can help farmers increase crop yields and increase their agricultural land by looking at that space technology, looking at, does your land have pests? Do you need to do pest control? Do you need more water? Do you need irrigation? What is your crop yield going to be? How can you forecast that? So what I highlight is it's not just for women. Space is for everyone, no matter what industry you're in, whether it's finance or farming or Internet of Things or public safety or health. Space has an intersection with that technology that can help your citizens create new opportunities, new businesses. Another great example is Uber. You know, many of us use Uber, but if it weren't for space technology and global positioning systems, the satellites that tell the Uber driver where you are, Uber would not exist. Airbnb. So these are companies that are created based on space technology, but Uber and Airbnb would not think that they're a space company, but they're certainly empowered by space technology. So everyone, no matter where you are, you can look at how you could utilize space technology to unlock innovation no matter where you are and create opportunities.
Excellent. Um, Talking about the key takeaway, legacy is not what you leave behind, it's what you build every day. You told that. It is profound. For mind and well, for a mid-career professional, how does the book guide them to intentionally engineer their daily actions toward their lasting legacy?
So what I highlight in the book is how every day are you contributing to where you want to go. So remember, in chapter 1, I say, what is that self leadership? Where do you want to go? What are your goals? And each day, are you doing something that helps you get towards the goals? Some days, maybe it's big things. Maybe you write a book. Maybe other days, it's reading a book or watching a webinar. But every day, do you have a habit and that routine that helps you get to where you want to be? And one of the people in the book is Her Excellency Amina Garib Fakim, who is the president, a former president. And she says to believe in yourself, especially when no one else does. That's always can be one of the biggest challenges, especially when you start a big goal that could take years to get there. You want to be an entrepreneur. You want to create a new business. You want to break into a new career field. I know people who are in Chile who got a degree in a career field, planetary science, that didn't have any jobs in Chile at the time they were getting that degree. So believe in yourself and believe that where you're going will manifest where you need to be. Just like President Garib Fakim says, you know, believe in yourself and keep moving every day. And the other thing I'll say is if you can build a support system that will help you, your journey is going to be long. Some days are better than other days. Do you have a strong support system? A spouse, your children, your parents, maybe it's good friends. Every day, do something that gets you to where you want to be. Some days will be more, some days will be less, and build that network that supports you.
Right. In chapter 1, you feature leader focus on self-leadership and launching national initiatives. Thinking, for example, in the Mexican president, she's a woman. What is the book key's advice for scaling self-discipline into a global movement or organization and culture?
Absolutely. That's wonderful. So that's one of the things we learned in that systems engineering as we think about the space industry. Where do we want to go? How do we get there? And policymakers, and we do have several presidents. In the first book, we have Her Excellency Dr. Rosalia Ortega, the first woman president of Ecuador, who's highlighted in the first book. And the second book has another president. And we hopefully will have another president for you in the third book coming out. So policy is really important. And you highlighted politicians. So in reality, policy and politicians set the agenda for where you want things to go. They can create the ecosystem you want. So an example I highlight is here in the United States, up until 2004, only the government could launch rockets. You either were part of the Air Force or you were part of NASA. But no private company could launch a rocket. No private citizen could go to space. But lawmakers in the US created policy, and the president at the time signed it, and it became a law to allow commercial companies to launch rockets, to allow private astronauts. And that created this whole industry that everybody talks about now in space. Elon Musk, SpaceX, Blue Origin, Jeff Bezos, Rocket Lab. That created that whole industry. So policymakers can create the economic opportunities that unlock innovations for its citizens. And one of the first things I learned from interviewing a lot of politicians was to listen to constituents, to learn what would good policies be? How do those policies create opportunities for entrepreneurs and businesses to be successful and create that long-term legacy? Because again, in 2004, when they said private companies could launch rockets, there were no companies that could do that. It took 20 years to create that ecosystem. I mean, SpaceX almost went out of business trying to launch rockets during that 20-year process. So it doesn't happen overnight. So for policymakers, listen to constituents, create a framework that supports the goals you want your constituents to have: economic development, prosperity. Space plays a role in that because you can use so much space technology for innovation and entrepreneurship. And then remember that you have to nurture it because it will take time. Take 10, 20 years, but eventually that good policy and framework will pay off and unlock innovation. And now you're seeing this renaissance in the space industry, really that's been brought on by lowering the cost of launching rockets because the US allowed commercial companies to now take that part of the sector over.
Right. Let's move to the second pillar, awareness from inside the design. The book suggests awareness is about designing ecosystems of opportunity. What does design awareness mean in a practical sense, and how it is different from simply getting marketing data?
Excellent. So it's really about thinking about the strategy. And we kind of talked a little bit about that when I talked about creating the rocket industry in the US. And that's had a ripple effect, not just in the US, but around the world, because a lot of countries want to have those launch facilities. So good policy can create a framework not only for your country, but it can create a ripple effect around the world. So space isn't just for the United States anymore. There are countries around the world, continents around the world that are unlocking space innovation and creating opportunities for others. So one of the individuals that's interviewed in the book is Anna Rudolewski, who created the Women Tech Network to allow access for women and men. So although women is in the title, it is open to men, and I've had men proteges as well as women proteges. But Women Tech Network has mentoring programs for women around the world as well as men to help them understand how they can come into the technology sector, because technology is a challenging industry, whether it's rocket science or anything else. And so creating an organization that has a powerful network, classes, conferences, and mentorship program can create that strong, powerful awareness ecosystem, designing the ecosystem that unlocks that innovation. So I highlight Women Tech Network as a great example of creating an ecosystem.
Right. You highlight systems thinking as a key lesson. For an entrepreneur, how does applying the space sector approach to the system thinking fundamentally change your business strategy?
Well, that's excellent, because sometimes when people make a change to a design, it has a ripple effect. And just like throwing a stone into a pond and you see the ripples, that happens when you make a change or create an impact. You may not see the big ripples as they reach the sides of the pond, but over time, that ripple effect is your systems engineering. How does what you do today create the effect you want for tomorrow? And you have to think of the systems engineering. So when you design a rocket, if you change one thing on the rocket, it might change something else on the rocket. So a systems engineering approach looks at how you might make a change and what the overall approach will be. So we talked about the policymakers. and creating that powerful framework to unlock innovation and entrepreneurship, maybe in Mexico. And that good policy could not only have a ripple effect in Mexico, but it could become a standard for how other countries look at creating that ripple effect, creating good policy and procedures to allow innovation and entrepreneurship. So sometimes your ripple effect, that systems engineering thinking, goes far beyond what you initially imagine.
Great. Given the exponential pace of technological change, what is the book most practical technique for an educator or entrepreneur to maintain a state of futurist awareness without becoming overwhelmed by the unknown?
So what I say is stay curious. Curiosity can be your compass. Are you learning every day? And again, we can't control 50, 60, 70 years down the road, the futurists. Will we be living on Mars in 50, 60, 70 years? Potentially, yes. Will we have lunar villages on the moon? Absolutely. But we can't become overwhelmed by that. What we can control is our curiosity for learning and allowing that to be our compass. And one of the highlighted leaders I have is Dr. John Wensven, who's in the book. He is the president of International Space University. And what he highlights is the importance of being a lifelong learner. As the world continues to evolve and things change, we can continue to educate ourselves and be ready to meet the future. So one of the things we hear a lot about in the news, I'm sure you hear all the time, is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence. Will it take jobs? Will it remove jobs? What will happen is some people are even saying that artificial intelligence could create more jobs. So what that means is we need to stay nimble. We need to keep our skills sharp. We need to be constant learners so that as the world turns with new emerging technology, whether it's AI, space, quantum, we stay nimble to engage with that future.
Excellent. You mentioned synthesizing lesson from over 200 global thought leaders. How did you reconcile contradictory advice or philosophies from such a diverse group to create a cohesive interstellar guide to success?
So one of the things you'd first think when I interviewed global leaders from around the world, so yes, I did interview leaders from the US and South America and Africa, you'd think there'd be so many differences because of culture or sectors, because I interviewed space people, but politicians, entrepreneurs, so not everyone was in the space industry. I interviewed academia, but what I learned was that three things are constant, no matter where you are in the world, your background or your culture. And that's being resilient, having that curiosity, and having a service mentality, helping others. And so when you really focus on those type of values, it doesn't matter what country or culture you're from, people understand resiliency. They understand that there are challenges and setbacks and that you have to keep going forward, even with those setbacks. They understand the need to be curious and excited and always learning. And then they also know that service of giving back, of wanting to help others, of paying it forward, whether it's making programs that help others find their way into entrepreneurship, innovation, or space, or paying it forward through gratitude and being a servant leader. So those were three things that I learned, no matter who I interviewed, what continent, country, or background.
Thank you. Let's get some messages from our sponsors. Let's go to a break, and then we will continue talking about this very interesting.
Thank you so much. I'll see you shortly.
Desde las situaciones más leves hasta las más graves, 24 horas del día, los 365 días del año donde te encuentres. ¿Sabías que en los casos de emergencia, los primeros minutos son fundamentales para preservar la vida de una persona? En casos como una parada cardíaca, problemas respiratorios graves, infartos, accidentes cerebrovasculares, entre muchas otras, la atención que recibe el paciente antes de llegar al hospital es fundamental para su salud. Y es que AMI es la empresa líder del mercado que está siempre lista para cuidar de ti y tu familia. ¿Cómo lo logramos? Contamos con una flota de ambulancias con tecnología de punta, ubicadas en puntos estratégicos de la ciudad para garantizar siempre una atención oportuna a tu llamado. Pero AMI es mucho más que un servicio de ambulancias. Con AMI tienes la tranquilidad de contar con un médico a domicilio siempre que lo necesites para ti, los abuelos y los más pequeños de casa. 1 de la mañana tienes fiebre y no te sientes bien, tranquilo, aquí está AMI. Nos llamas, te atendemos sin necesidad de que salgas de tu casa con mínimo estrés y sin costos adicionales. Además, los medicamentos para estabilizar tu situación de salud son gratis. Y no solo eso, con AMI cuentas con una gran variedad de servicios complementarios para tu protección y la de tu familia. Visita programada de pediatra a domicilio para tener la situación de los pequeños siempre controlada. Servicio de farmacia a domicilio. Análisis de laboratorio clínico en casa. Cuidados de enfermería en la comodidad de tu hogar. Y lo mejor de todo, puedes incorporarte a la cobertura de AMI a cualquier edad, sin examen médico previo, sin preexistencia y sin límite en la utilización del servicio. Los adultos mayores son bienvenidos. Además, ponemos a tu disposición un amplio directorio médico de especialistas con grandes descuentos para nuestros clientes de AMI. Queremos ofrecerte lo más valioso y sabemos que es tu salud. Por eso, AMI protege a los tuyos ante cualquier problema de salud.
México, te quiero despierto, te anhelo vibrante, te pienso fiel, latiendo al ritmo de tu recuerdo, camino en el renacer. Corazón de maguey, corazón de maguey, 1000 mentes son más de 1000 razones buenas, la tradición, el color de la luna nueva, corazón de maguey, corazón de maguey.
We're back in this live broadcast with Shelli Brunswick. We're very excited to this very interesting interview. We are continuing with the Pillar 3 Access, Engineering Opportunity. Shelli, you state access is an engineering opportunity. Doesn't just happen. What essential infrastructure for growth must every leader build to design access for the next generation of talent?
Absolutely. So access doesn't just happen. You don't just create programs that provide access opportunities. You have to architecture them. So it's architectural work. And leaders must build mentorship systems, educational pipelines, and networks that democratize opportunities. And so one of the people I'd like to highlight is Dr. Mohammed Sharif, who works at the ISESCO, which is the Islamic World Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization that has 54 member countries, and he does programs around the world that are entrepreneurial facilitation, CANSAT programs to create space industry opportunities, as well as women entrepreneurial programs. So because of ISESCO and Dr. Sharif's work, and he's highlighted in the book as well, he's architecting, creating programs designed for access. It doesn't just happen accidentally. You have to create those opportunities.
Is critical element of access. I mean, this is right on chapter 10. What's a unique space-inspired mentorship model? reverse mentorship, global digital twin mentorship that you've featured in this book?
Absolutely. I love the idea of digital twin mentorship. Some people know about digital twin for technology and modeling and simulation. I call it digital twin mentorship. It's a global, virtual, and reciprocal pairing of individuals across borders to learn in real time. So even today, I have several proteges that I mentor. I was part of a Blue Marble project over the summer for their young scientist program, and I had proteges in Ecuador, Ghana, and Pakistan. And even now, I'm in a program for World Space Week Astropreneur. And my protege or my colleague is in Azerbaijan. So we can create that mentorship and digital twin. The other thing is, as a mentor, I learn just as much, if not more, being a mentor. I learned so many things from the people that are proteges. So it's a wonderful opportunity. It's not a one-way street. It's a two-way dialogue, and you get as much as you give, if not even more. I love being a mentor. Some of the people I also highlight in the book in chapter 10 is Ingrid Umada from Colombia. She was one of my proteges from Women Tech Network, and she is an amazing mentor who's helping entrepreneurs from around the world as well. And we still keep in touch. And again, I'm learning more from her than I think she ever learned from me, because she's all about data and making data-driven decisions. So she's an incredible leader from Colombia.
Excellent. This is a very important question because our audience is global. So, for someone working in a developing economy, what is the single most important action he can take or with an access period to overcome geographical and resource barriers?
Excellent. So I want to highlight one of the amazing thought leaders and a Carmen Fellow from the book, Oleinka Fagmerio. She is the founder of Astronomers Without Borders Nigeria. And so my takeaway for your audience is start local, then connect globally. Be a storyteller, use those digital platforms. So what Olenka did is she created an outreach program within Nigeria to help individuals learn about space. And there were resource challenges, there were distance challenges, there was Wi-Fi challenges, but she found ways to overcome those challenges and create an incredible program to help the next generation of Nigerian youth find their way into STEM entrepreneurship in the space industry. And because of her remarkable work, she was selected to be a Carmen Fellow, which there are only around 15 selected a year to be part of this incredible program. So for your listeners, you can check out Oleinka's story on my YouTube channel. I did an interview with her about her programs, as well as the founder, one of the founders of the Carmen Fellowship Program, is Hannah Ashford from Australia. I also have an interview with her on my YouTube. But for your listeners, maybe you want to check out the Carmen Fellowship Program as an opportunity for you to think local and go global.
Excellent. How does the book reconcile the space sector history of government driven gatekeeping with its modern mandate of fostering open collaboration and access for entrepreneurs? You highlight systems thinking as a key lesson. For an entrepreneur, how does applying the space sector approach to system thinking fundamentally changing their business strategy?
Excellent. So what I really highlight is a lot of times people think space is for other countries or other people. It's not for me right here. And what I'm going to highlight is what we're doing right here today. We're using Zoom, and Zoom is a form of telecommunication. All telecommunication can trace its beginning back to the Apollo program. Telecommunication was designed so NASA could talk to astronauts, and then some entrepreneurs commercialized that technology, and now we all have these wonderful products of Zoom, Teams, and so on. So what I highlight is what you might think is not part of what you could use, space technology. You might be able to find ways that space technology intersects your business. Agriculture, healthcare, education, the Internet of Things, public transportation. The other thing you can do is NASA has a tech transfer office. So you can go to the NASA tech transfer office. The European Space Agency has one, as does the Japanese Space Agency. And these tech transfer offices have thousands of patents that are from the space industry that are waiting for entrepreneurs to look at and commercialize and bring to market. Now, here in the United States, the NASA Tech Transfer Office has, like I said, they're in agriculture, telecommunication, health sciences, and many, many more. So even for ideation as an entrepreneur, maybe you don't want to go into the space sector per se, but there might be a great idea in that tech transfer to solve a problem that could change the world. So it's a great place to start if you're an entrepreneur to look for great ideas. It might be a great place to apply for that patent from the US government to try to commercialize that technology, just like they commercialized telecommunications so that we could now have this interview today on Zoom.
I'm sure the entrepreneurs see all this vision that you highlight. And well, it's time to look to the pillar 4, action, turning vision into the momentum. The book is dedicated to turning inspiration into impact. What is the book's most powerful action principle for overcoming the common organizational paralysis that follows a major inspirational moment of meeting?
That is a super question. And what I'm going to say is momentum beats perfection. You know, sometimes we want to have a perfect answer. We want to have 100%. We want zero risk. And life is full of risk. It's full of challenges. It's full of decisions. We can't always have perfect. Can we have good enough? Obviously, in the space industry, there's human lives at line. So there's made a mistake. It's okay to try again. SpaceX had multiple launch failures when they were learning how to fly and create a rocket until eventually they did. But what they did is they weren't afraid to try to fail, and they call it fail fast, learn, and do it again. One of the leaders I talk about is Janet Ivy Dunzing. She says education isn't a one-time event. It's a lifetime and lifelong adventure. So think about all that momentum and learning will beat perfection every day. We can't be perfect. We can try to continue to improve.
Right. You're a strong and admirable advocate for the practical application of space technologies, technology transfer, for example. How does the action pillar guide entrepreneurs in identifying a space-created solution that puts up an urgent moon and Earth problem?
So I think what's really wonderful is when people think about space, they think about we're returning to the moon or going on to Mars or studying the atmosphere or the sun. But space is also about, and primarily about life on Earth and solving our greatest challenges here on Earth. When we think about growing food or monitoring resources like water or fisheries or protecting borders, we can do all of that with space technology. So space is part of solving our greatest challenges on Earth. I talked about the United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs. They have a document called Space 2030, and they talk about how space is helping to solve the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. You know, zero hunger, zero poverty, innovation, gender equality, quality education. Space plays a role in each and every one of those. And I had already talked about Dr. Catherine Nakalibi from NASA Harvest. Farmers may not think that space technology could help them unlock increased yields or help them ship their products to market because we use GPS for logistics and shipping. So you can really use space technology for all this type of things we do here on Earth and unlock innovation and create better opportunities. So innovation finds its highest orbit when it serves Earth.
Right. The book features a blueprint for turning purpose into progress. What is the most common mistake you see leaders make when trying to scale meaningful purpose-driving project?
So one of the biggest things is we try to do it alone. And nobody goes to space alone. For every astronaut that goes to space,
let's see the International Space Station.
Yes. For every astronaut that goes to space, there are thousands of people on Earth that made that mission happen. The same with you. Maybe you're a solopreneur like myself. I write books, but I have an editor. I have a network. My family supports me. I have colleagues that provide interviews. I have a network. So nobody does this alone. even if you're a solo entrepreneur, you still have the network of support. So purpose scales through partnerships, not through isolation.
Excellent. What is a specific non-STEM skill, for example, storytelling, finance, empathy, that you are is most critical for converting a both space-inspired idea into a successful terrestrial action?
So it's in the book. There's a whole chapter on and destiny. Facts inform mentally, they connect to you mentally, but stories inspire. They capture your heart. They generate feelings, and feelings generate actions. And so in the book, I have several people, Rod Pyle, who's written many books about the space industry, Valerie Wan Lee, who's from Korea and France. They demonstrate how storytelling transforms that awareness into action. It's how ideas cross cultures and ignite collaboration. So every breakthrough begins with a story that's well told.
Excellent. After interviewing so many change makers, what is the most powerful short characteristic among those successfully moved from vision to lasting impact?
I think it's conviction. They act despite uncertainty. There are never perfect market situations. You know, I talk about somebody named Desmond in my first book. He grew up in Cameroon. They don't have a space industry. He wanted to be in the space industry. It didn't matter to him that there wasn't a space industry in Cameroon. He found his way into the U.S. space industry, and he is now here in the United States. He went to Arizona State University, the Thunderbird School, and he is now in the space industry. And we have a mutual friend. You may know Catalina Ramirez Vázquez. She launched Spaceport MX, Mexico, to be that Latin America, showing that they had defined the space economy. So despite uncertainty, despite maybe not having a space industry, despite maybe not having people think, why would we think about space? They had the courage and the conviction to carry on. They saw the vision. They knew it would make a difference, and they didn't give up.
I send greetings to Katy Ramirez, my friend Katy.
Yes, Katie is in the book as well, so she shares her. Yes,
yes. Okay. You have a diverse career trajectory: Air Force, Space Foundation, author, entrepreneur. How did you apply the 4 pillars in real time? Help you to navigate these career chapters?
absolutely. So the 4 chapters really work together, or the 4 pillars. So it's leadership, awareness, access, and action. So for leadership, take responsibility without waiting for rank. So even when I joined the Air Force, I didn't have to wait till I was a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. I took responsibility and I made improvements every day. You don't need to have the rank or a title. For awareness, you can listen to voices that are different from your own, gain perspective. That was a wonderful thing about this book process. Interviewing 200 global thought leaders, I got to hear insights from people from Chile and Ecuador and Argentina and Costa Rica and the Philippines and Malaysia, and synthesize that information that made me a better person. I was able to look at access, building networks that included people, not exclusion. I have powerful networks, whether it's in Europe or South America or the Middle East, building bridges to create inclusivity. And then, of course, taking action, saying yes before you feel ready. You know, sometimes you feel like, oh, I'm just not ready. One more class, one more moment. Next month, I'll do it. Sometimes you just have to say, yes, I'll be on Fermín's show. I'm ready, even if I'm not totally ready. Say yes before you're ready. That way you'll get there. So those 4 pillars are not theory. They're my personal flight plan that I share with you and your audience.
Thank you so much. Excellent. When traveling around the world, what is the place you see for Latin America in developing the space national agendas? For example, countries like Mexico, like Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, some others, for example.
I think it's an amazing opportunity for Latin America. There's so much opportunity. And again, it's really looking at how space can support citizens in those countries. So, what I say for policymakers, what would benefit your citizens? So, I have interviewed people from Chile and Brazil and elsewhere. So, you can think about the mining industry. Well, we can use space technology to manage fisheries, to look at mining activities, to monitor resources. You know, Chile has glaciers. You can look at it for all these things: telecommunications, health, education. So, when I meet with people from different countries that are doing space technology in their country, I'm listening to how they are helping their citizens create economic opportunity and prosperity using space technology. And that's the amazing opportunity, is that space technology can unlock that innovation and create economic opportunity throughout Mexico and the rest of Latin America.
Excellent. What would you say to Latin American political leaders to promote the space technology?
And I have to share, having spoken to many and listened, I'm going to say listened to many Latin America leaders, and I understand there are many challenges that they may not think space is a priority. You know, there's health, there's education, there's safety, there's housing. I understand from listening to leaders throughout Latin America that you have many, many challenges and priorities that your citizens want you to solve. What I want to share with you is space technology can help you solve those challenges. You have leaders in your country that are space innovation experts that could help you bring in how space technology that already exists could help your citizens improve their quality of life as housing, safety, education. I understand that there are other challenges and priorities, but space could be part of that solution. And you have, like I said, experts in your country who want to help you create a successful framework to help the people in your country.
Thank you very much. This is a good response because we need it in Mexico. Our president, she's a scientific, but I think she needs more information about the space sector because we're not having the correct support, and we hope to have it in the near future. And with the answer, like this that you gave us, it is really, really important for us. Well, you are considered as a space visionary innovator leader. The context of the new space race, I mean, the moon and Mars, and the new space are very important at this moment. What is your expectation for the development of the space exploration in the next 15 years?
Well, I think it's a really exciting opportunity. And as you said, exciting for Latin America as well, like the Puerto Rico Science Trust, for Mexico, for other countries, because we're entering an era of inclusive innovation where we're not going to go to space alone, we're going to go to space together. So expect a thriving lunar economy, a cislunar economy that can create telecommunications, more satellites in space that help citizens with Earth observation, telecommunications, but also opportunities on the moon to do research, to do look for minerals and mining, private sector collaboration. So not just the government's leading, but really commercial industry leading, and that's what's sustainable. Government is good in the beginning, but as it can transition to the commercial sector, similar to the launch industry, then it becomes a commercial entity. It lowers costs, it creates innovation, it unlocks innovation and increases timeliness. And also on to Mars. We already have rovers on Mars. We're doing scientific research, but eventually, yes, we will have humans on Mars. And this also spurs the excitement for creating that educational pipeline, linking space technology with sustainability, with Earth, solving Earth's challenges, and creating that excitement for young people to study STEM, science, technology, engineering, encouraging young people to become entrepreneurs and innovators to solve the challenges here on Earth with space technology. One of the people I highlighted in the book is Dr. Graham Lau from Blue Marble. And I shared that young science program. So share that with your audience. You may have some young professionals that want to apply for next year Blue Marble's Young Science program. They take those people from around the world. And it's virtual, so we can do it anywhere in the world. But what Dr. Lau highlighted is astrobiology isn't just about finding life elsewhere. He's an astrobiologist. It's about sustaining life here on Earth. So the future of space deeply is intertwined with the future of the Earth. And so the great takeaway is the next great leap isn't only to go to Mars, it's toward a more connected humanity here on Earth.
What is the role of NASA in articulating the rest of the space agencies to go to the moon together? For example, well, we have seen the Artemis Accords with more than 40 sponsors, and this is great because we are so many countries helping or supporting the American initiative. But what is the most important role of NASA in this context to go together to the moon?
I think you highlighted it right there. It's about going together. It's not NASA doing it. It's NASA creating the Artemis Accords. Like you said, I think it's 40 or 50 countries have signed on. So it's an amazing opportunity. How do we go to the moon together? How do we work together? How do we unlock innovation and opportunity together and do those activities as we develop that cislunar economy, which will unlock new forms of innovation and entrepreneurship as we go on to the moon, as we go on to Mars. So NASA's role is really to be that partner creator, partners with other countries, but also public-private partners with commercial entities. It is still expensive to go to space. It is still dangerous. And so we need not only government, but we need industry and we need global partners. And NASA's role is to really be that partner facilitator to create those opportunities where we can go together as humanity back to the moon and onto Mars.
Excellent. Well, we are entering into the last part of this great talk. But before to finish, let me congratulate you, for being nominated for this important award in the United States, to be a finalist in 3 categories. So congratulations.
I'm deeply honored, and I'm excited to be a finalist with the other amazing women throughout the Americas. It's both North and South America. I have several people I know that are also in those categories, and it's just an honor to be nominated. I want to thank those who nominated me. And my goal is to continue to serve you, the people of Earth, and helping how space technology can unlock innovation, and even more important, create that leadership and professional development mastery so that no matter what industry you're in, you can accomplish your goals and leave that lasting legacy.
Excellent. You have told a good truth. Give us a final reflection on the book, on the future of the space sector, on the future of space exploration. Just give us a final reflection about this time.
Well, thank you so much. Again, I want to share that the books are an opportunity to help young people as well as professionals. The second book is for those professionals. It's helping them with that professional mastery. The first book, 10 Life Lessons for Personal Growth, is for those young professionals who are figuring out what they want to do next. The third book is a surprise coming out in 2026 called Out of This World Leadership, which will be on leadership excellence. And so the 3 books really help leaders, no matter where you are in your journey, continue on your journey for success. You can find the books on Amazon. I know in Mexico it's available on Kindle. And shortly I'll be releasing the book on a new platform that will make it available even more globally with Spotify and Apple and more. And please follow me on LinkedIn. I post a lot of great information there. Like I said, we talked about a lot of the opportunities with the Carmen Fellowship, World Space Week, Blue Marble Young Science Program. So in the book, as well as my LinkedIn, I try to continue to promote those free or low-cost opportunities for you and your listeners to find their way, whether it's space, technology, policy, diplomacy. I want your leaders to find their place where they can contribute and make an impact.
Thank you so much. We will be expecting the third book, of course, and we will present you, of course, here in Café Espacial. And again, thank you, and to my audience, let's see next week. And thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And until next time, I look forward to seeing you around the galaxy.
Yeah, around the galaxy. Thank you so much, Shelli.
Gracias.